call the Kingston Springs Beer Board to order. John, could you please call the roll? Sorry, that's the next meeting.
Cheers. Cheers.
Josh Etherly.
Here.
Mike Hargis.
Here.
Tony Gross.
Here.
Glenn Remick.
Here.
Jeff Lawrence.
Here.
We have a quorum. Do we have a motion to approve the August 15th, 2019 meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Do we have a motion to approve the March 19th, 2020 Beer Board meeting agenda?
Motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes. New business, item A is motion to approve TriStar Energy LLC sudden service number 0013 beer permit application, 129 Liven Hills Road, Kingston Springs, Tennessee.
Good evening. My name is William Ball. I'm here on behalf of TriStar Energy LLC. I'm their attorney. I'll give a little bit more of a background. So TriStar Energy is going through the process of acquiring a number of different stores throughout Middle Tennessee from Hollingsworth Oil Company. Today we're requesting a beer permit pending the closing on April 6th. We've provided information. I know we're still waiting to provide the business licenses because we're waiting for the confirmation that the closing is going forward. I think it is, so we'll be submitting those very soon. So that's if there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Mayor, I've had a chance to look over their application. They supplemented it with some additional information I had requested. I think it's fine to understand that the background check came back with no dings or anything like that. Right. So my recommendation would be that you all approve it pending the submission of the signed lease and business licenses.
Will it remain a shell?
It will. It's continuing the same ownership, or not the same ownership, but the same management, the same control. So there should not be any change in that.
And no just general change of business practice?
Yes, just a transact, just acquiring it, and everything staying the same.
All right, do we have a motion? Oh, do you have to put?
I always like to preface that TriStar Energy is also a part of the responsible vendor program here in Tennessee, so they take it very seriously about selling to underage, I guess minors in any way, or underage patrons. So that's another thing we always like to emphasize.
Love to hear that. Yeah.
Very good.
So it's just basically a change of ownership of one of the partners.
Oh, well, no, well, I'm sorry, Hollingsworth, TriStar Energy and Hollingsworth Oil Company are not affiliates in any way, but TriStar Energy is acquiring the entire business from Hollingsworth Oil Company. So they'll be maintaining the same service as Sudden Service, but it's just a full acquisition, and the property is being leased currently, so that's why we'll be submitting a lease to that property as well.
All right. Do we have a motion?
Motion.
Second to approve. Any discussion? Any further discussion? Everyone good? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
Before you do that,
Yes.
I'm going to recommend, the state has just come out with they have two different background checks. Before there was only one background check, it was $29. I'm going to suggest that the beer board go to the background check that checks all states instead of just Tennessee. It's $49 instead of $29, and it requires the fingerprints. But I would recommend that, because if it's not someone who's lived in Tennessee, the only record you're getting is Tennessee.
Right.
So,
Yeah, that's perfect.
Thank you, Chief.
What do we need to? Do we need to?
I would.
What do we need to do to change
probably
that?
make a motion to recommend that we move to that, and then it's not codified as the type of background check. It's just that it requires a background check. So I think if you all make a recommendation and then convene in as commission, and also say yes, we'll now move to background checks along with the chief is recommending.
Okay.
Beer
So
board makes a recommendation to the commission.
So we need, okay, one of those. All right. Do we have a motion to recommend to the city commission that we switch to the more comprehensive background check?
Motion.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, motion passes.
Thank you, Chief.
All right, do we have a motion to adjourn? I think we already have one, didn't we?
We do.
Yeah.
I don't think we did.
Okay, well.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. Call the Kingston Springs Board of Commission for March 19th to order. Could everyone please rise and face the flag? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, John, could you please call the roll?
Josh Ederly. Here. Mike Farkas. Here. Tony Gross.
Here.
Lynn Rick. Here. Jeff Lorenz.
Here.
All right, we have a quorum with all members present. Do we have a motion to approve the February 20th, 2020 City Commission meeting minutes?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. We have one item to add, and that will be item 11D, and that's to approve the Jared Payton proposal. You also received an email going over that.
11B.
11D, correct. All right, do we have a motion to approve the agenda for March 19th, 2020?
Motion to approve.
As amended.
As amended.
As amended.
Second.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes. All right, announcements from commissioners. Jeff, what you got?
None.
I want to commend the police department, the fire department, all the city workers, everyone else in the offices who are still maintaining their positions and doing a fantastic job.
Now, if you guys speak on your meeting with the governor and other mayors.
I can.
I would
Yeah.
just kind of like.
Yeah, yesterday we had it was a kind of a conference call that was available to mayors throughout the state. It was 100 lines open. We all met in the different our respective county mayors' offices. Most of the information that was presented there is very similar to what you're hearing from when the governor gives his daily briefing on what's going on with the COVID-19 virus here in the state. Same precautions. What I will say that I gathered from it is I feel like it is a pretty serious thing. The governor seems to be taking it as a very, very serious thing. I think we all should. All those recommendations that you see on TV from the president and from the governor and from the CDC, those are all valid things. Hence why we're sitting like this tonight. And the state legislature has moved for future meetings, and this is something the governor covered in some detail, to allow us to have meetings in case this is still an ongoing issue in the future, to have meetings remotely where we could actually convene either by a conference call or Skype or something like that. So those are the kind of precautions. I'm not sure where that legislation went, and maybe you know, Martha Brooke?
I've not heard that that's passed yet.
What happened, from my understanding, is there's two versions of it. There is a House version and a Senate version. It sounds like the Senate version is better because the Senate version allows for a little bit more flexibility for towns. The House version is very much, we have to live stream this. And most municipalities don't have complexity of live streaming people from, like, in our case, 5 different places, or you could imagine Metro Council from, like, however many places that is, a lot, would be logistically difficult. Whereas the Senate version is just that you have to provide that as a public record at some point. So you would just have to have a recording of that you would provide to the public. So I don't know where that is, but then I also have heard the legislature kind of got out of town, didn't they? So what's
That's what I had heard.
Yeah.
They went ahead.
So we may not.
Passing budgets and
Yeah.
recessing.
So.
But in theory, if it's recessed, they could come back in and pass specific things, I guess.
Yeah.
That they need to address.
The other thing that was addressed pretty extensively is the fact that the testing is available in all counties in the state of Tennessee now through the health department. I think, once again, I think that's been covered pretty much, through all of his addresses to just the general public as well. And then the other thing, of course, that came up aside from that was the fact that we did have our first confirmed case here in Cheatham County, that's kind of the extent of it. But it has put us in one of the minority of counties right now that has had a confirmed case. So that's where we are right now. The best thing is just to keep on doing the things that are recommended and working to get through it. And that's about all I have. All right. All right, community input and concerns. Right now, you can, if you'd like to come address the commission, just step up to the podium, state your name and address, and you're free to speak to us. I think that a lot of folks here are probably on the agenda, so that might not be it, but
My name is Shane Sanders, and I live at 471 Page Road, which is just here next to the park. And I'm here to try to come up with a solution to get rid of the speeders. This is my second time here, and I'm sure some of you might remember me, but the stop sign helped a lot. But now it seems like it's just a starting point for a lot of drivers. You know, it's 40 miles an hour and a 20. No, because they know that there's no one patrolling that area, you know. There's no way to patrol it in a car, being a one-way. So there's kids that are there at 7 o'clock in the morning waiting for the bus, especially this time of the year. It's dark at 7, right at time change. People late for work, driving 40, 45 mile an hour down the road. And it's just going to be a matter of time before somebody's hurt, whether it be a pedestrian down the sidewalk. My mailbox been hit 3 times, so in 4 years. So I'd just like to try to figure out something,
yeah.
you know.
We did set the speed trailer there.
I've seen.
Have the data, which doesn't matter. I mean, obviously, it's still a problem. We have the neighbors still reporting it. But it is a very difficult place to try to set and run radar without them seeing you, because, of course, if they do see you, they're not going to be speeding. And I don't know what the solution is, and I'm certainly not one that's in fan of putting speed bumps around town, but that may be an area to put low traffic calming device, just because the street is so narrow and so short, with the houses flushing right onto that narrow street.
Do you think maybe some more cautionary signage too? Like,
I think the
maybe
people that are
people
going
just
through
don't
there
pay
are
attention.
not going to, they're not going to be, I mean, I really think you're going to have to put something that's going to physically they're going to have to slow down to break the speed. You know, whether that's putting another stop sign at the other end, so that when you get, you know, back to where it splits off, you've got to stop again. You know, and I don't know what is a better solution, but I do think it's going to take something to either have traffic come to a stop or have to slow down for an obstacle such as one of those low bumps.
Yeah.
Chief, I'll add, like, I go to the park a whole lot. Both ways, those stop signs to a lot of people are not stop signs.
Yeah, they're still being
I mean, and not even, I'm not even
occasionally.
talking hesitation.
Right.
Just-
I know I've almost been that's how I go to work every day. I've almost been rear-ended stop signs. So I'll stop there.
So I
and
just,
people
more signage, I
don't
don't think.
expect you're going to even do
It's
it.
just more things to ignore.
Right. You know, and like, sir, I'm typically never a fan of those, but I will tell you that that's what they've
Might
been
be an
using,
option.
like in the metropolitan neighborhoods, the older neighborhoods.
Is it-
And
Yeah,
it
they
is
just added in
what they're
Peter,
doing
weren't
is
they?
they're putting,
What is it?
They just added over right next to the park on the narrow road that,
Anderson.
Anderson Road.
What
And
are
they
you
did it on
suggesting?
Bellmead and Dayton.
Putting small speed humps of some kind.
yeah,
Small speed bumps.
they call them traffic calming devices. And it's just
Traffic
a
calming devices.
low, wide hump to have everyone slow down, you know, whether you put 1 or 2 through there just to get the speeds slowed.
Just to ask, will they, because there's that spot off to the left that
Right.
is more than wide enough for a vehicle to go around the calming.
Well, there are some trees there. I mean, it's still
I was
left.
talking about in front of
But-
the people's, with it, they knock a tree down.
Right. You know, I don't know. I mean, I don't know what the perfect solution is, but I
Well, I
do
think a
think
good
that.
start would be just, letting them know that you're there. You know, my thoughts were is if we could get some officers over in that area where the no parking sign is
Right.
in front of,
That's what I'm talking
and
about.
a couple of them there, during
We can
periodic
spread out
times,
do
and then
that.
have them pull over down wherever, but we got to let them know that
Right.
that there's someone there, and
Oh, I agree.
so.
Do What do the numbers look like off the speed trailer?
That's what
I don't have the data.
I have
yet?
not
Okay.
pulled
Yeah.
the data
That'd
yet.
be interesting to see. But the reason I ask that is because another option is they do have those permanent speed fixtures like that too. So if that is slowing people down, that might be another option.
That works to an extent, once people see that it doesn't, like, that you don't
Doesn't
get
make
a
a
ticket.
difference, yeah, it
It
doesn't.
works for people who don't travel that road.
Yeah.
I live a few houses up from him, and I guess the biggest issue is, like, there have been multiple times where my daughters and I have been walking down the road, people just fly.
And who are you in your address? I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, my name is Baker Giddens. Like I said, just literally right
Okay,
down there. I mean, we've thought about, I think if you wanted to do like the speed limit sign that shows the radar, the only way you could do that is like speed check by radar and have like a fake, like I've seen signs that have fake cameras. I mean, maybe that would instill, if people didn't know it was a fake camera, maybe they'd be
Well,
scared
the thing
that
is,
they'd get a ticket.
all those things work for very short periods, and as soon as they go through there and figure out they're not getting citations, that doesn't blow it.
Mhm.
I mean, I really think, and I hate to keep harping on the speed bumps, but I
That might
think
be the way to go.
with the traffic coming out of the park, you got all that soccer traffic, I think that you're going to have to put something in to make the driver slow down.
Mhm.
And most people, I'm not going to say everybody's going to slow down going across it, but most people, when they come to the speed bumps, will slow down.
Are you saying one of those rolling paved
It's just
ones
a
or the
rolling,
mounted one? The
you
paved
mount
one?
it, no, not paved, they're just,
Oh, I
you
know what
just
you're
buy
talking about. Yeah,
those and
those wide ones.
they just basically pin down
Yeah.
to the blacktop, and you can get them in different widths, so it covers the full width of the road or just the center, you can get them in different raise,
Bolt down.
whatever level. I think what they're using mostly now in Nashville is the wide, lower version,
Yeah.
but they're a lot wider than the typical speed bumps.
Mhm.
I really think putting a couple through there is going to be your best bet because there's such a traffic volume leaving those parks after soccer games and soccer practices, and it's not just one coming through there, and it's.
It's also
I
the
understand
summertime after canoe trips and-
It's really a bad place to have a park exiting onto that little street. But it was also a better solution than having it two-way before. So.
Well, that was one of the things that we was talking about earlier today is the tree line. Is there utilities there
Well,
that is keeping it
problem
from?
is it's railroad property is one of the biggest problems.
Okay.
And number two is it's almost all rock.
Yeah, I noticed that it is.
So it'd be expensive.
Number one, the railroad, they're not one to give up property.
Sure.
And number two, I think it would be so costly to come in and blast, because you can't just, if you go in to widen that, you've got to do it to the state standards today. You can't just go in there and say, I'm going to try to get, another foot on each side. You've got to make that whatever today's standard for that road would be.
Right.
So that makes it really cost prohibitive.
So even on the high side of the lane coming back this way, is there not enough room to make that lane of traffic even just a foot or two wider? It seems like to me there would be once it.
See, I don't know the right way through. I can tell you that in the old part, this downtown area of town, the right of way is just,
Sure.
it's inches. I mean, it really is not a very big right of way that the city has in this old downtown area. Nothing like in the newer developed areas.
I got it.
And I feel like, if I'm not mistaken, that the railroad property even goes up onto the bluff in front of y'all.
Oh, okay.
So I think that that road actually crosses, and John, you may know better than me,
Off the top of my head, I don't.
but I'm thinking that the railroad actually has property on both sides of that road going through.
I see.
So,
And I would like to add that more than likely the data on your speed machine that was out there is probably incorrect, because it doesn't look like to me it was set in the right location, because it was catching all the traffic that was coming down. Like as soon as you crossed over the bridge,
right.
it was catching that traffic there and
Well, and that's
not
the
giving you-
problem. It has such a distance, and the distance is not adjustable.
Right.
So if it's sitting and it sees a car, but yet they end up turning into Burns Park, it's still going to count that and count that speed. which is going to give you kind of false readings, because if
It's
they
the
are
same
slowing
speed
down to
limit.
turn.
Right, it is.
It is the same speed limit.
Right, but if
Right.
they're slowing down to turn into Burns, then it's going to look like the speeds are lower than they are.
Of course, they're supposed to be slowing down and stop the stop sign.
But I will tell you, it picks you up as soon as you cross the bridge,
Oh,
because
yeah,
I go that
absolutely.
way every day.
But there's no way on that machine to adjust that.
Sure.
Not that we couldn't try to set it in a little different angle where it doesn't pick up quite so. We'll work on.
We gotta figure out a solution.
We'll try
I
to
don't want
work on
anybody
a
hurt.
solution to help you. We'll get some officers
Let's-
sitting there, and we'll try to get that trailer back in a different area.
If you
Over by
put it
that-
closer towards my house, in the middle, like once you get to the top of the hill, in the middle of that, you would get more accurate readings on how fast people are going.
And there are, if it ends up looking like the speed trailer is slowing them down, they do have those speed limit signs, and they're not terribly expensive, that have the little battery pack that have the solar panel on top that constantly, I don't know if you go through Knob
Flash.
Road or whatever, but they put them all through that area, and it picks up your speed. As soon as you exceed the posted speed limit, it starts flashing. There's some things that we can look into, but I think starting off, it's really up to the commission what they want to.
Let's well, I'd like to see that data too, so if we can, just so you
I can get that.
accurate. I'm sure you send that to us before us to send that out to everybody, and then let's go ahead and start looking at some of these speed traffic calming devices to put up there too. So, and we'll try something else. Try to stop sign. We'll try something else.
Yeah.
So,
All right.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
coming and bringing that to our attention. All right. Anyone else? Community input and concerns? All right. The next is department reports. Everyone's had a chance to take a look at those. John, you have anything to add?
I do, I know Chief and Brandy both have something, but I want to jump in and
Okay.
give kudos to our Public Works Department, to our Parks Department, and to our Wastewater Department. Those guys, as you know, we've had some wastewater issues at City Hall. They put in a new septic tank at City Hall and a new septic tank at Fire Hall 1. In doing so, they also cut up the parking lot and rerouted piping to connect those two new septic tanks to the city's sewer system. All that work was done, at least 90% of it was done with our own machinery and our own skilled manpower, saving the town of Kingston Springs tens of thousands of dollars. So I just wanted to give a thank you to the hard work and the many hours that they put in over the last 2 weeks to do that.
Very good.
I just wanted to update you on the fire and police, basically what's changed. I mean, that was the public that you talked about with the virus. On the fire side, what has happened is EMS has put out a protocol that if we're dispatched, because we do a lot of first responder calls, if it is, dispatch has a whole new set of questions to ask. If they have a high fever, if they're showing flu-like symptoms, if they've traveled outside the country, if they've been exposed to anybody that's had the virus, then the ambulance is going in first and only calling the fire department to come to the house if they need additional manpower. And then they're specifying how much manpower do they need, so that we're not sending in 5 firefighters for possible exposure. So that's changed. And I talk to EMS daily with the updates. The protocol for emergency service workers really hadn't changed. Maintaining 3-foot distance. Of course, the gloves, we've got safety glasses. We do have the mask. They do have the testing set up at Cheatham Health Department. I know that, I'm not sure what the protocol is for the public. I do know they're doing the testing from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. During, I guess, Monday through Friday. I'm not sure on the weekends. And they will test emergency responders if they feel like they've had exposure or shown any symptoms. We can be tested, and that's no charge for the town, which I don't think any of it's at any charge. But that has been set up, and we're in the loop to know what to do. On the police side, we've set out a memo to dispatch and gotten with the officers. Any call that does not require officers' presence, then we're going to try to handle by telephone. Not to say that we're not going to respond on calls, but there's a lot of calls lost tags, lost driver's license, simple things like that we're handling by telephone. If it's a call that requires officer presence, they'll get the same exact response that they would get if nothing was going on. So that's really the only changes that's been made for the emergency service. We did cancel the fire training tonight because typically we have 12 to 15 people there, so we're trying to maintain that less than 10 people. If it continues in the next few weeks, then we do have some online training set up that we can have the firefighters do in lieu of face-to-face training. So that's where we're at as far as precautions we're taking and the protocol changes.
Very good.
Okay, and I think we talked to you guys about it at the retreat, but the little girl at the high school that wanted to donate the handicap accessible swing
Emily Johnson.
to the park, and she had contacted the county mayor, the county mayor had contacted us, and the apparatus that she was wanting to put in the park, we've had a lot of recommendations not to do that because of the type of structure that it is and the danger that it presents. So I've diligently looked and looked and looked for something that's handicap accessible that actually allows a wheelchair to access it, not make it accessible to a wheelchair, but actually allows a wheelchair to
Get to the swing.
be on the apparatus. We found 3 or 4 different things. John and I have looked at them extensively. None of them are very inexpensive. This is something that we have found that we both really, really liked. It's called, and there's not a lot out there that actually allows a wheelchair to be on a structure. This is called a wheel go round. It's got a couple of different functions. A wheelchair can get on it. It can attach to the outside of it and go around. It's a solution that I would love to add something a little more handicap accessible to our parks. This is about $25,000. And the installation's probably 20 to 30% on top of that. I'm not sure how much the county mayor was willing to donate. He was willing to donate some. The little girl was going to donate some. I know April opens up, usually for playgrounds, a lot of grant opportunities because it's in the spring. I'm not sure this year because of the virus and everything that's happening, but the gentleman at the manufacturer said that there are a couple of grants that will open up in April that he does know about for specific handicap accessible things like this. Right now, basketball court is in our project line item to be fixed. We don't have enough there to do that, unfortunately. And so I have requested in next year's budget the same amount to fix the basketball. Well, we put the deck in at City Park, but maybe we could use some of those funds to offset some of the costs of something like this. We will get something from the mayor's office. We will get something from the little girl. I think it would be a great addition to our park. And if we don't fix the basketball court this year and push it to next year, we do have the funds to do that.
Okay.
So it's just something to think about. I would love to help this little girl. She's a great addition to our community and really wants to help. And it's the most feasible thing John and I could find. And it was the less expensive of the other options we looked at too.
Where do you think you'd put it?
I'm not sure. It would have to be attached to the playground there at Burns Park somehow. You know, there is room towards the pavilion. There's room on the front side. There is room. We left room to add different structures.
Because it doesn't seem like it'd go in the middle.
It couldn't go in the middle because of the mulch. It's going to have to be on the front. It's going to have to be near the trail. It will have to have a poured in place type of padding around it for it to work accordingly. But all of that is figured in.
Playground kind of neat.
Mm-hmm.
How much did you say it was?
The retail price right now is about $27,000 plus 20 to 30% to install.
Installation. So another 10?
He couldn't give me exact, but yes, it would be close to that.
40 grand for?
I love our mayor.
Closer to.
And I will say also, and I'm not sure Miss Debbie might be able to give us some input on this, we do have a playground savings account set aside. I don't know if we could access some of that for something like this. I don't know. I would love to add, our playground currently is handicap accessible, but to me, it's really not, because it's mulch and it'd be really hard for a wheelchair to get around in it. It's technically considered accessible.
Yeah.
I'd love to have some kind of structure in the park that is wheelchair accessible very freely.
I love that it does not look like a handicap
It does, yeah.
It does not.
piece of equipment, so all children will enjoy it.
So, it's just something to think about. I'm just trying, we've really been trying to come up with a solution for this little girl.
Well, it's something we can get back to Mayor McCarver with and see what he's thinking as far as the portion that the county would like to
Right. We'll
to
contact
fund on
Mayor
this, and
McCarver,
we'll
see how.
give him an idea.
Has
of
she already
what we're
raised
looking at.
money, like a specific amount?
John, you might be able to answer that
No,
better
she's
than I.
not raised money. She has approached the county mayor, and the county mayor knew that she was a senior at Harpeth High School, so county mayor contacted. We've kind of been working with Mayor McCarver and Italy to find the best solution. So, like Brandon said, Mayor McCarver will have some funds and has indicated that he would be happy to use some of those funds for this equipment. And there are grants that are specific to handicap accessible playground equipment that will be.
I will give you an example. The structure that she wanted to present would have been $5,000 to $7,000. So it just, I talked to 3 different manufacturers and they were all like, we just absolutely do not recommend that in an open environment. If it was in an enclosed environment, a monitored environment, it would be it's a great thing, but in an open environment.
To have that much mass and weight.
That much
moving,
mass and weight
not
could really
being
hurt a
over-
child, so they did not
Serious
recommend
damage.
it.
It is a big, heavy pendulum.
So we were just trying to come up with some kind of
I think that's
solutions.
a
and-
fantastic
That's a neat fix.
alternative.
It's a neat alternative. Yeah, we'll see what we can do.
How much do we have budgeted for the repair of the basketball?
We budgeted $30,000. We spent $7,800 repairing the deck at City Park. So there's about 22, a little over 22 sitting in that account right now, or that line item.
Have you been getting phone calls about use of the basketball court?
Today, I will say today,
Got nice.
I know a lot of people aren't listening to the warnings. The park was insanely packed today. There were probably 10 or 15 kids on the basketball court dribbling in the puddles.
Yeah.
I mean, it gets used I think it would get used more if we could adequately,
Yeah.
if we could make it better, but we've gotten a couple, or I know for sure one, I've reached out to a different concrete manufacturer, or concrete guy to give us an estimate on what to do. So it's not in our budget this year to fix it.
Legal?
Legal updates. As you know, things have been going fast and furiously with respect to the coronavirus. There was the legislation passed by the U.S. House earlier this week. I've had a chance to go through all of it. I have not had a chance to read what the Senate passed yesterday to see what aligns and not, but the House version provided for expansion of paid time off, sick time, some expansion of the TMLA, expansion of workers' comp, several things along those lines that are applicable to governmental entities. So I'm hoping to have some time tomorrow to sit down and go through and see how the 2 bills align, what our final act is, and then I will get with our city manager to let him know what the town will need to do to be in compliance with the law with respect to those items.
If nothing changed today and there was a shutdown, does the PTO kick in at that time?
So-
and how much do we have?
So the version of the House bill, and again, it may have been tweaked slightly by the Senate, but what I have read is that you would have to do, for full-time workers, you'd have to do 80 hours of paid time off in addition to what they already had, what you've already granted to. So this is an additional 80 hours. The FMLA has been expanded. The reasons that you can use FMLA has been expanded to include if you've got coronavirus or you've been told to self-quarantine or a family member has to self-quarantine. It's pretty broad with respect to this. It all sunsets December 31st of this year, so hopefully we'll be out of the woods on that. FMLA is 12 weeks. The first 2 weeks are unpaid, but then you've got the PTO.
What is our PTO now?
I don't know off the top of my head.
Debbie, do you? You don't ever use it.
Yeah. And for part-time workers, you are to give them an equivalent of what they would have earned during the number of hours that they worked. So there's a formula that's in that.
For what period of time?
For a 2-week period.
For the 80 hours?
Yeah.
For the 2 weeks.
And so FMLA, after the 2 weeks, the House version had provisions in there where it would be 2/3 salary for the remaining 10 weeks. So there's some pretty expensive benefits that were placed in that. So we'll get our arms wrapped around that. I'll let the manager know what we need to do on that. So, do you want me to go into emergency powers or anything along those lines, or?
If you'd like to, go ahead.
Okay. In Tennessee, the Department of Health is really the one that's vested with a lot of authority as far as shutdowns and things like that. However, mayors of municipalities and counties can declare emergencies, pandemics, diseases are part of the defined emergencies. And they do have authority under Title VIII to evacuate areas. And so mayors can order, for example, downtown streets evacuated because of spread of disease or other calamities. So
Even in our type one, what do they call us?
the city manager.
Yeah, it would be the city manager.
It's specific to the mayor.
Still,
It's,
okay.
yes, specific to the
So
mayor.
he'd still be able to do that.
He could declare an emergency, and those last for 7 days. They can be writ up after 7 days. So, but I know that the State Department of Health really is the one that has a lot of can go a lot further than just evacuating an area. So to speak.
In Nashville, that's what was it? It was the city's Board of Health in Nashville, correct?
Yeah, they declare the emergency. Department of Health can declare it as well. We don't have one.
We don't have a county.
Yeah, but the county has one.
The county does not have a Board of Health, do they? Or kind of
The health department.
They do? I mean, we have a health department, but do we have?
Oh, the board of health. No, they do not.
Which is the mechanism Metro used for shutting down the bars in Nashville. So that, as a county, that couldn't necessarily happen in that way here.
Because there's not a board.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
hopefully people will heed the warnings and stay home and it not be an issue. So.
All right. Well, thank you. On to unfinished business. Item A is a motion to approve ordinance 20-001D annexing a portion of property within the town of Kingston Springs town limits, 1082 Old Brush Creek Road, map 99, parcel 189, to Cheatham County. Though this has changed significantly since we last discussed this.
Yes, as I spoke on this in our last meeting, our law firm did not recommend the annexation of this property. We've since had a chance to meet with the town planner and our city manager and discussed what all the particular issues are. We think there are some directions that our applicant could take in order to be able to secure his building permit. For example, he could get a elevation certificate to show that where he's building the house is not a flood zone. If he's got PSI issues for the sprinklers, he can ask for variance, etc. So I do not believe, and I think the planner now agrees that we do not need to de-annex this. So if you all are of like mind, I would just recommend a no action on this particular agenda item, and it will fall off the agenda for next time, and then at such time as he's ready to move forward.
So the planner recommended he carve out a piece of 5-acre piece of property out of that 50.
Well, we had talked about whether or not he could subdivide out
Right.
these. She was concerned that that would lose his greenbelt status. I have a different opinion on that. She also had some concerns about his USDA agriculture status. But I think we have found a way where he can accomplish what he needs to accomplish without having to subdivide and keeping it one parcel that straddles the boundary line between the municipality and the county.
So the way to do it would be to designate part of the property that's out of the zone but in the city limit.
He really doesn't have to. What he'll likely do is do a limited site plan for just exactly where he's
really any different than any other. That's what I was worried about, is him having to spend 3 more months trying to do this. That doesn't change what he'd have to do anyway, right?
Exactly.
And the planner is in conversation with the property owner to walk through all this. Good.
Yeah, she sent him an email on Tuesday outlining what all we had discussed as solutions. What he's wanting to do.
All right.
No action?
I guess we need a motion for no action? Or?
You can just say I'll open the floor for a motion.
Yeah. Is there a motion?
I move to take no action on the de-annexation of that property in Kingston.
Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor? Aye. All right, motion passes. All right, new business, item A, Dr. Norquist, I believe your opportunity to speak is right now.
Well, thank you guys very much for having me tonight. I know you're busy, and sorry I bothered you guys several times today and yesterday about are we still having a meeting. So you guys are intrepid souls to be here tonight. So I wanted to thank you on behalf of the Cheatham County Master Gardeners for having me, and wanted to tell you a little bit about the program I came and talked to you about 2 years ago with the beautification program. So 2 years ago, I presented the Cheatham County Master Gardeners with a beautification program that recognizes beautiful landscapes, both businesses and homeowners, and they get this very elegant post with a sign that goes in their yard, and it's about as tall as I am, and the sign's like a realtor size sign. And they keep that a year, and then we hope that they reapply for the award and get it again the following year. And the purpose of the award is to augment our codes. I always thought codes, there's another with somebody beside it, my ugly face. And the gentleman beside me is actually our first corporate sponsor, so he gives a corporate sponsorship, and we have designated one of the awards in his business's name. So we have ongoing funding mechanisms through people applying for the awards, and then also through corporate sponsorships, so that we'll continue to keep the thing growing. But the purpose of the award is to augment our codes, where code sort of forces people to have a minimum standard, and this incentivizes the people who care the most to go above and beyond. And we have codes because we know that one washing machine on a front porch will breed another and another, and trash thrown out in a ditch will lead to more trashy ditches. And our hope is, as happened in Huntsville, Alabama, that this program will actually lead to more and more beautiful places, businesses, and residences. Huntsville's been wildly successful with this. They initiated their program in 1974. The last year I knew, which was 2 years ago, they had 365 awards scattered throughout the city. Huntsville is a very, very beautiful town. If anybody has been there, I think you would agree with me there. And it always struck me how different Huntsville is than Clarksville. So my wife's parents lived in Huntsville, and so we go down to visit them. Very similar towns. Huntsville is a city built on an Army-based backbone. They're removed from the interstate. Clarksville is a town with an Army-based backbone and removed from the interstate. Huntsville's a little bit different. They have NASA and a lot of engineering down there. So a little bit more affluent, but not a lot. And when you go to Huntsville, it looks like a beautiful place. It looks like a city park. It has very few dilapidated, depressed looking buildings and sections of town. And I noticed that there were these beautification awards scattered all throughout the town. There would be entrances to hotels. There would be Lockheed Martin. There would be hospitals. There would be Pep Boy auto parts. There would be Burger Kings, mom and pop restaurants, chain hotels, you name it. And they had these beautification awards, and you could tell they had spent tens of thousands of dollars in some circumstances to beautify the front of their building. And when I was talking to one of the leaders of their award program, she told me that there was a company that spent almost $100,000 on their landscape to win this award. So I think that kind of shows what it can do. And we had approached you guys, we approached Ashland City, Pegram, Pleasant View, and the mayor, county mayor, and I'm happy to report that we have had sponsorships in all of the municipalities, and I'm back tonight to see if we can get you guys to help us as well. So what the beautification program is asking for is a one-time donation of $2,500. And what that does is it funds us for 1 year to buy 10 awards to grow our program. The thing that we give back to the town who sponsors us is you guys get a Mayor's Award designation. So if you guys have 4 winners within your jurisdiction, then the mayor of the jurisdiction can come up and say, we want this landscape to have the Mayor's Award designation. And so anyways, Ashland City did that last year, and the county mayor did that as well last year. Pleasant View will be this year, and Pegram will be this year. So, but it's been a good program. We had 10 winners last year. All of those are north of the river, which we want to change. And we not only want you guys as help in sponsorship, but we also want your help in spreading the word about the program so that we have award designations south of the river. We do have some master gardeners down here, so we're working on that, and we're working with the landscape companies here. So.
Does someone submit, or do you just drive around?
Well, yes. Last year, because we had such a hard time getting word out about the program, I physically knocked on doors, and I probably knocked on 40 doors, residential and business doors. You know, we can't get the word out unless the sign is out. So the sign's out right on the highway. We've got one right on Highway 41, one on 49. We've got one on 249 at Bearwall Road. So some of those are in really high traffic areas, and Huntsville has these awards out. They're always right in the front of the business, so more and more people see, and then people are like, hey, what's that beautification program all about? So we have, it's a $25 application fee for a homeowner and $50 for a business or municipality could also ask to be have a designation for an award. And then we judge in the first week of June. There's all the judging criteria and everything are on our Facebook page. And but yeah, we come out the first week in June and designate awards, and then they get installed the following week. Stay for a year, and then again, we're hoping that people will reapply for the award the next year, so we don't have to pull it up and move it. We do have them semi-permanently installed at the locations. I actually have a tractor with an auger. We'll come out and dig the hole, place the award, and then we use crusher run around it, tamp that down, and then soil back on top of that. So the award is removable, but it's not blowing in the wind and looking bad. We want it to be really nice. We come by throughout the year looking at the landscapes, making sure that the trash stays picked up and the yard stays mowed, and if it looks like the landscape is going to make the award less prestigious, then we'd actually take it back. We give the business owner or homeowner obviously a chance to rectify the situation if they did. We take the award back out. So anyway, I'd like your consideration for that.
Any questions?
One more thing, we did apply for, after we were here, we applied for and received nonprofit status for the whole Master Gardeners program, including the beautification award. So we are a 501c3 not-for-profit organization now.
Well, thank you.
Any questions or anything? The Cheatham County Master Gardeners Beautification Program has their own webpage, and then our Facebook page, and then the Master Gardeners do as well. So there's lots of pictures on there. You guys could look at the application, the judging criteria. Part of that is there's bonus points for being pollinator friendly. So we have lots of beekeepers and hummingbird people and butterfly people in the Master Gardeners. So we thought that was important that we're making it pretty, but also being stewards of the environment. And just to remind you about the Master Gardeners, we're an extension of the University of Tennessee TSU Extension Service. So we're there as a volunteer organization, donating hundreds and hundreds of hours to the community every year. And we are there as an education piece. So if you guys have, a problem with your garden, something's eating your tomato plants, some sort of a disease you can't figure out on your blueberries, that kind of thing, we're a first-line resource for you to help you with the problem. And then we can always get Ronnie Barron and the University of Tennessee Extension, whatever we need to do involved after that too. But we're here for you guys to help you with whatever you need for your landscapes or gardens.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much. Thank you for your time.
Mike, your yard would do really well if anyone would ever get back there to see it.
We'd love to come see it.
All right. Item B is a motion to approve a $100 gift donation to the town of Kingston, the Kingston Springs Volunteer Fire Department in memory of Marvin Crouch.
Motion to approve.
Second. All in favor? Aye. Motion passes. Item C is a motion to review to award bids to the town for 2-year contracts.
We had 5 2-year bid
openings. The bid deadline was March 9th, 2020 at noon. The bid opening was March 9th, 2020 at 1 p.m. I opened the bids with Doris Neal, our city clerk, as a witness. No other people were in attendance. I've indicated, given you a bid summary in your packets. Of those 5 bids, the paving repair contract, we received no bids. Staff recommends that we do rebid this. We have had a couple of people after the bid deadline indicate interest, so we would like to rebid this. This is just for paving repair, primarily street cuts. Whenever the town or a lot of times the water company will need to make street cuts to change or replace piping, this is to repair those street cuts. So we'd like to rebid this in the near future. The second bid was general construction. No bids were received under general construction, and staff recommends that we do not rebid this. The majority of the work that we do in the town with Mini-X, the skid steer, the skills of our current employees, we are able to do that work ourselves. If we do need a larger machine, then we will get that from bids whenever we need it, but otherwise, I think we can take care of most of the work ourselves. Save money. The next bid was septic tank pumping. We received one bid from Elite Septic Service, who is our current provider, and the staff recommends that that bid be accepted. The next is the sewer system repair. We also received one bid for that contract from Elite Septic Service, our current provider, and staff recommends that we accept that bid. The last one is grass mowing service. We received 3 bids for that contract, and while one of those bids was competitive, staff discussed and has a different option in mind, at least for this term, at least for this season. Randy, do you want to, since it's a parks primary, do you want to explain what we were looking to do?
Sure. We currently have a line item of about $25,000 for mowing. Our current person that mows comes in about $730 something a month, I guess, and his contract runs out in March. We have approximately $13,000-14,000 left in that line item. We're looking at maybe letting Public Works and the Parks Department absorb that cost and do the mowing ourselves. Purchasing one additional mower. Last summer we did not hire a seasonal employee, so we have enough in that line item this year to hire someone starting in April, towards the end of April through June, full-time, and hopefully will help with some of this mowing. I think we've just looked at it with Public Works. Mr. Parker can talk to us about it a little bit more, but just absorbing the mowing through the Public Works and Parks Department and doing it ourselves.
And what about July, August, September? We're gonna have to mow during those months.
We'll still have that money budgeted for a seasonal employee through August.
Okay, well, I thought you just said through June.
Well, this budget year is through June. I mean, we didn't use that money last year because we had a seasonal worker for about 2 weeks is all.
Okay. So you have the money for the whole summer season if we could do the money.
Until the budget year runs out, yes, sir.
Okay. How much is a mower? Additional mower?
$12,000, I think we discussed.
Right, for a commercial type zero-turn mower that's not going to fall apart on us.
And it's one that would be used specifically for the parks because it's not one that we want used on the roadsides because the roadsides are a little rough, and that this mower would be specifically used for the Parks Department. We were going to try it this year. If it doesn't work out, Public Works' oldest mower is, 15 years old? Something like that?
At least.
If this doesn't work out, that mower will transition into Public Works and we'll go rebid it again. We think it'll take about 15 hours a week for someone to mow both parks. Currently, our current person mows them in a day with 3 people. So.
One person would take 3 days.
Yes, sir.
been tried in the past.
It has not. We've
No.
discussed it numerous times in the
Okay.
past.
I thought that there had been some past attempts at this.
Not that I know of. Not since I've been here. We've always had it contracted.
Is that true, Debbie? Or is that, so that's the case? Like, I don't know, I'd heard, sorry, so we haven't.
No, not since I've been here have we tried to do it ourselves.
So what's the comparison all in of the cost of buying a mower and using the summer intern program, which we might use even if we don't buy a mower? I mean,
No, we will use it. I just,
Yeah. I mean, I understand, well, my point is, just for my edification here, education, what's the total bid of the contract compared to buying the mower and paying the help?
they'll start mowing probably.
Next week?
Right now, our contract is done through May. The current person is doing it through the end of March. So it'll start April 1st.
April 1st.
Right. So what's that cost us though a year? This year, what will we spend on it if we recontracted them?
Yeah.
Oh, John, do you have those numbers?
We would spend the initial cost for the mower, which would be 10 to 12. So we would have that equipment, that would be ours. We would, either way, whether we use this person for mowing or did not use this person for mowing and found other things, we would still want to and have budgeted a
To hire this
seasonal
person.
worker that would be from May to,
It might not be cutting grass, but we're gonna use a park worker.
right, in the
Yes,
past,
sir.
we've used it for
I'm
other
cool with that,
things.
so we're gonna spend that money anyway. I'm
Yes.
with you there. My question is, cost of the mower plus the cost of the labor that we're gonna spend anyway, how's that compare to what we
Cost
might
of-
save
the total
on not
cost of the
having a
contract.
contract?
Right, so the lowest bid that we received is on here at
675.
$675 a week.
A week. So for how many weeks?
24,
May,
28.
June, July, August, September? You'd be cutting at least.
April, May, June, July.
That's the
August.
price of the mower plus about 2,000.
16.2 for 24,
All right, okay. For 24.
24 weeks.
16,200.
For 24 weeks, so it seems like a good gamble.
Yeah.
If we can get it done, the fiduciary.
Just to play devil's advocate on this real quick though, you know, we have a pretty limited staff. Last year, we weren't able to find a mower, or find a seasonal worker, right?
We had one, but
That,
he didn't work out.
so we're gonna have to make sure we do that. And what are we gonna pay the seasonal worker?
We are currently budgeted at 10, and we were at $10 an hour last year, and we were looking to increase that to 12.
Okay.
And we do have the funds allocated, since we did not have the worker through last year, we have the funds allocated. If we started May 1st and went through the end of the budget year, there's enough money in that line item to make it $12 an hour.
I think to Tony's point too, and Bubby, you may be able to answer this, at $10 an hour, are there many competent people that can operate?
It ain't gonna happen.
At a zero.
Nobody's gonna work for 10. No.
I think the difference also, you just need to take into effect, this is the only year we will be buying a mower, so next year, that price will
Right.
be a
You
third.
wouldn't say that if it worked out.
I'm concerned about the worker more than the mower. I mean, the
Right.
mower probably needs to do it. Just like, how are we going to get somebody to do that job for that money? And maybe for $12 an hour. I mean, Taco Bell plays 11.
Right, no,
You know?
that's understandable. And that is an unknown, because we have just now started to look for a seasonal worker.
And we said it'd take 15 hours a week to do this.
Yes.
And that could be an overshot.
Well, the reason I say that, if we don't do it, then what are they not doing during that 15? What are they going to do extra during that 15 hours a week? You know, if we're hiring somebody for 40 hours a week.
I mean, I think that they
The
could
seasonal
find
worker really
something.
does work between Public Works and Parks. We've always had a
Everything,
seasonal
yeah.
worker. Last year, unfortunately, was the only year it didn't really work out that way, but we have
Oh,
always,
okay.
since I've been here, had a seasonal worker that comes in May and works through August.
Oh, right.
Usually it's a high school or college student.
No. Well, I mean, I don't know. I just think that we're going to have to make that position maybe a little more appealing to make sure we get that person that does that. Other than that, I have no problem because the mower.
I don't think that person's sole job, though, would be to mow.
Yeah.
No.
I'm just saying we got to make sure that that's an appealing enough position that someone wants to do it.
As I
As
said,
an
we've
hourly.
never had a problem finding a seasonal
Okay.
worker until last year, and honestly, it was just the circumstances didn't work out, and by the time he left us, it was,
Too late.
yeah.
it was-
Or we would have hired somebody back in, so.
The biggest issue is gonna be getting somebody to work for $12 an hour.
Yeah.
I mean.
That's what I'm,
somebody
that's
Agreed.
exactly what I'm saying.
Agreed.
I'd say, yeah. I mean, you
Show
know,
up.
because of everything going on, a lot of people are unemployed, so that might seem more appealing in a month than
Right,
it
maybe
did
that's
last
what
year.
we have going for us.
But it is an issue. But other than that, I have no qualms. That's just my concern.
Okay.
I'm Shannon McNeil. I'm with Clean Cut Services, the lowest bid there. I had a couple of questions, if it's appropriate.
It's up to the board.
To ask. I'm sorry.
No, we're discussing bids, and you're a bidder, so I suppose you.
Well, just something to think about too as well. Mowing is one thing too. What about the trimming, AKA weed eating? That is the worst part of the job. Sitting on the lawnmower is one thing. Getting out and trimming around whatever needs to be trimmed is entirely different too, especially for $10 to $12 an hour. Sometimes it's hard to keep folks on to do that line of the work. If this idea didn't work out, what is the procedure at that point? If the fellow hired and the whole system didn't work out, does it go to the lowest bid at that point, or I kind of lost track at that
It
point?
would have to be rebid at that point.
Oh, okay. Okay. And that would be in like June, you said, or June through August?
Well, it could be any time.
It could be bid at that. I believe it could. There's no specific protocol. These bids are up because these contracts are up. In the event that the town had to acquire a new additional service, that would have to be bid. That would be bid at the time the additional service.
And we wouldn't be currently in a contract at that point, so
Exactly.
we wouldn't have to wait for it to be
Okay.
up.
So the current fellow's contract would have run out by that time?
Correct.
Okay. Okay. That was just a couple of questions I had.
I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, what you got, Josh?
I know how hard it is to find people. That's what you talking about. Are we still on this subject?
We're on the topic of mowing.
Do we have a plan B? Is there?
Yeah, I mean,
I guess plan B would be to bid it.
Very good.
We need a mower.
I was gonna say, we need a mower and in perspective, right?
Correct.
Yes, sir.
So let's,
Even if we didn't do it ourselves, we need the mower for public works.
So we could replace the mower, we could try it, and if it failed, we could bid it.
Can we do it? Yes, there's no doubt. I have no doubt in that. It's just the fact of, and the part-timer's not gonna stop us from getting it done if we find somebody or not. It just goes back to finding this part-timer that's gonna work 12 bucks an hour.
And are you guys gonna have time, if we don't find a part-timer, to sacrifice 15 hours out of a week to do it?
that was
that's
my
the
secondary
problem,
point.
yeah.
What else is not getting done
Yeah.
during that
Yeah,
time?
yeah, and that's something that actually I have started on as of yesterday, trying to lay out stuff a little bit better. You know, I mean, some days it's just, we know we cut grass on Thursday and Fridays, most times, right? But filling in the gap on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we can get it done. And I can, pull one guy or whatever. There's no doubt about that.
If the city gets another mower, they'll have 3 zero turns.
Yeah.
The one definitely is older and needs to be replaced sooner than later, but it's still usable. I mean, if they, worst case scenario, they could put 3 people on the mowers, they could mow it all in a half a day. I mean, I don't think you're gonna take Public Works and take them 15 hours away from their job, I guess is.
Yeah.
Okay. 3 mowers. That makes sense.
The current person does it with 3 people, and he gets there about 7 and it's done about 1.
And just for clarification, we've had the department heads and I have met and made clear to understand that there is a certain expectation of the way that this town should look and is expected to look. And that expectation is high. And if this is going to minimize that expectation that it's not going to work. But they're assured that that expectation will be met and exceeded with this program.
Okay. All right. Well, we'll give it a shot. And the board can decide.
So we have.
All right. I
contracts.
guess we
Yeah, we gotta start.
move through these. All right.
Yeah, we gotta do one at a time.
Yeah, we need
Yeah,
to
we
do one at a time.
So we'll start with. Do we have a motion to accept the septic tank pumping bid from Elite Septic?
Motion?
Second.
Second.
Call the roll, John.
Josh Etherly,
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Tony Gross,
Yes.
Glenn Remick,
Yes.
Jeff Lorenz.
Yes.
All right. Do we have a motion to accept the lowest bidder for the sewer system repair to Elite Septic?
Motion?
Second.
John?
I'm sorry, Josh Etherly,
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Tony Gross,
Yes.
Glenn Remick,
Yes.
Jeff Lorenz.
Yes.
All right. Oh, and then I guess we should actually, I got ahead of myself. We need to, do we have a motion to rebid paving repair?
Motion to rebid. Paving
Second.
repair.
Josh Etherly,
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Tony Gross,
Yes.
Glenn Remick,
Yes.
Jeff Lorenz.
Yes.
All right.
And that's a rebid of Jerry, correct? Is that what that is?
That's a different project.
No,
Different
that's,
project.
Yeah, that's just for pay, this is, yeah, so.
That's what
All
I
right, and
forgot.
then do we have a motion on grass mowing? I guess, what-
yeah, how do we?
You can, you can decline, you can
First
make
we
a,
need to-
you can,
Reject
you can reject bids or you can accept bids. So do we have a motion to,
So we would, so motion to reject bid.
do we have a second on a motion to reject the bids?
Second?
Call roll, John?
Josh Etherly,
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Tony Gross,
Yes.
Glenn Remick,
Yes.
Jeff Lorenz.
Yes.
All right.
Do they need a
Go
motion
with the line
on
item.
not doing the general construction?
No, because no bids were received. So
No bids were received and we're not rebidding it, so,
I didn't know if they needed to.
or do we need
say
to vote to not
rebid
rebid it?
Yeah, that probably would be a good
We
idea.
probably
so we have
should.
it.
We'll go ahead and do it. Put it
Motion
on the
to
record.
not rebid general contractor.
Second.
Josh Etherly,
Yes.
Mike Hargis,
Yes.
Tony Gross,
Yes.
Glenn Remick,
Yes.
Jeff Lorenz.
Yes.
Motion passes. All right. Hold on, I got lost in my paper here. All right, and then our final item is item D. It's approval of Jarrett paving proposal for the city parking lot. John, would you like to say anything about it?
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The paving of the town's parking lot is something that is in the current budget allocated funds. However, we have looked at paving this in the past and have always looked at other things that roads were potentially more important. But with the construction that we've recently done and the deconstruction of the parking lot, it's something that is now necessary. The biggest difference is that in the funds that were allocated, Spring Street was not included. It was just indicated as these funds were going to be for the paving of the town's City Hall parking lot. So it's as that map and that support material I showed you indicates the back parking lot and the front parking lot, and then there is a section next to the railroad tracks where the fire department primarily uses to stage and park vehicles. So if we paved all that area but did not pave Spring Street, then it would look like shiny new pavement on both sides of Spring Street, and Spring Street just old pavement running through the middle. We did not think that was acceptable. So it includes Spring Street from the stop sign here at Main Street up to the curve at when it turns into